My little son had never been afraid of his father. Not really. Even after the divorce, even after the silence, even after the nights when his dad stopped calling. So when he grabbed my hand that evening, his fingers shaking, his voice barely louder than a whisper, I knew something was wrong. Please don't let Dad come inside. I knelt down in front of him, brushing his messy hair away from his eyes. Sweetheart, what are you talking about? I asked gently. Your dad is coming to see you. You used to beg for that. His lips trembled. That's not my dad anymore. Those words hit me harder than I expected. Till Ron imagine things. They exaggerate. They mix dreams with reality. That's what I told myself. But the fear in his eyes, that was real. I forced a small smile. You're tired? You've had a long day. He shook his head fast. No, Mom. I saw him. He's different. Different how? I wanted to ask, but before I could, a loud knock echoed through the apartment. My heart skipped. My son flinched and hid behind me. The knock came again, stronger, more impatient. I stood up slowly, trying to stay calm, reminding myself that this was just my ex-husband, the man I once loved, the father of my child. But with every step toward the door, my chest felt heavier. Mom, please, my son whispered, gripping my shirt. He's not the same. I paused. Thought something inside me told me to listen, but another voice louder said I was being dramatic. So I opened the door, and for a second, I didn't recognize the man standing there. His eyes were sunken, dark circles hanging beneath them like shadows that never slept. His smile was stiff, forced, like he had practiced it in front of a mirror. Hey, he said, I'm here to see my son. His voice sounded familiar, but empty. I stepped aside, letting him in. The moment he crossed the threshold, my son let out a small cry and ran to his room, slamming the door shut. My ex frowned. What's wrong with him? I was hoping you could tell me, I replied. He laughed, but there was no warmth in it. Kids these days, he said, too sensitive. Something about the way he said that made my stomach tighten. He walked toward the living room, scanning the space like a stranger, like he had never lived here before, like he was searching for something or someone. You've changed the place, he said. It's been 2 years, I replied. People change. He turned to me slowly, his eyes locking onto mine. Yes, he said quietly, they do. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of him, because of my son. He refused to come out of his room, refused to eat, refused to even look at his father. And every time his dad tried to speak to him, my son would cover his ears and shake his head, whispering, that's not him, that's not him. After his dad finally left, I sat beside my son's bed. Talk to me, I said softly. What did you see? He stared at the wall for a long time before speaking. I saw him last week, he said. My breath caught. Where? At night, he replied. Outside my school. My heart started pounding. What do you mean? He was watching me, my son said. But when I waved, he didn't wave back. Maybe he didn't see you. He shook his head again. His eyes were empty, Mom, like he didn't know me. A chill ran through my spine. Then what happened? He smiled, my son said. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was like he was pretending. I tried to stay calm, but my hands were shaking now. Sweetheart, I said, forcing a steady tone. Sometimes adults go through hard things. That doesn't mean they stop loving us. My son finally looked at me. Then why did he say my name wrong? I froze. What? He called me Evan. My son said quietly, my name isn't Evan. That night, after my son fell asleep, I sat alone in the dark. Memories flooded back. The late nights, the sudden anger, the way my ex would stare into space, like he was somewhere else. I used to think stress had changed him. Now I wasn't so sure. The next morning, I called his sister. Has he been acting strange lately? I asked. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Why do you ask? She finally said. That pause told me everything. He's not the same, she admitted. He barely talks. He quit his job. He sold his house. He says he's starting over. How? I don't know, she whispered. But sometimes I feel like I don't know him anymore. When I hung up, my phone buzzed with a text from him. I'll come again tomorrow. Don't interfere. My heart dropped. Interfere with what? That evening I picked my son up early and took him to the park instead of going home. We sat on a bench as the sun went down. Mom, he said softly, do you trust me? Of course, I replied. Even if what I say sounds scary. I swallowed. Yes. He took a deep breath. I don't think that man is my dad, he said. I think something bad happened to him. I wrapped my arms around him, holding him tight. In that moment, I realized something powerful. Sometimes children see the truth long before adults are ready to accept it. And sometimes ignoring a warning is the biggest mistake a parent can make. That night, as we finally returned home, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The door was slightly open. We never leave it open. I slowly pushed it wider. The lights were off. The apartment was silent, except for one thing. Footsteps. Inside. The footsteps stopped the moment I froze. My son's fingers dug into my arm. I could feel his heart racing against my side. Mom, he whispered. He's here. I didn't answer. I slowly reached for the light switch. Clicked. The living room flooded with light. Empty. No one. But the air felt wrong, heavy, disturbed, like someone had just been there. Stay behind me, I said quietly. I checked the kitchen. Nothing. The bathroom. Nothing. Then the bedroom. The window was open. Cold night air rushed inside, making the curtains sway gently. My stomach tightened. Someone had been here, and they had left in a hurry. I locked every door and window, then sat on the floor holding my son until his breathing slowed. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt alive. Around 3 a.m., Mython Vibratted. A message from his dad. Why did you leave the house? My blood turned cold. How did he know? I didn't reply. A few seconds later, another message came. You can't hide him from me. I blocked the number. But blocking a number doesn't block fear. The next morning, I called in sick to work and kept my son home from school. Mom, he asked while eating cereal, are we in trouble? I knelt beside him. No, I said firmly. You did the right thing. You told the truth. But what if he gets angry? I looked into his eyes. Then I'll protect you, I said. That's my job. And I meant it. Later that day, there was a knock at the door. My heart dropped. But this time, it wasn't him. It was a police officer. Ma'am, he said gently, we need to ask you a few questions about your ex. My hands started shaking. What happened? The officer hesitated. He was reported missing 2 weeks ago. The world tilted. Missing, I repeated. That's impossible. He was here last night. The officer exchanged a look with his partner. Are you sure? Yes, I said. He came to see our son. He texted me. He was inside my apartment. The officer slowly took out a notebook. Ma'am, your ex-husband's phone was found abandoned in another state. My mouth went dry. That's not possible. There's more, he said carefully. We have reason to believe someone has been impersonating him. The room felt like it was closing in. Impersonating. I looked at my son. His face was pale, but calm. He told you, I whispered. The officer nodded. Children notice details adults ignore. They showed me a photo. It was him, or at least it looked like him. Same face, same eyes, but something was off. That's not my dad, my son said firmly. The officers left, promising protection and updates. But once the door closed, reality hit me. The man who had been coming to my home wasn't my ex-husband. That afternoon, I finally called someone I had avoided for years, my father. I need help, I said, my voice breaking. He didn't ask questions. He just said, come home. That evening, while packing, I found something in my son's backpack. A folded piece of paper. I opened it. It was a drawing. A man standing in the dark. No eyes. A fake smile. Above it, my son had written, this is not my dad. I hugged him tightly. You're brave, I said. Braver than you know. On the drive to my parents' house, my phone rang from an unknown number. I didn't answer. Then it rang again and again. Finally, a text appeared. You can run, but the truth always catches up. I turned the phone off. That night, as my son slept safely beside me, I sat awake thinking about instinct, about courage, about how fear doesn't disappear. You walk through it. Sometimes life tests us in terrifying ways, not to break us, but to reveal what we're made of. And I promised myself something, no matter who or what was after us. I would never ignore my child's voice again, because strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes It whispers through the mouth of a child, and the ones who listen survive. My parents' house had always been a place of safety. Growing up, it was where problems ended, not where they followed you. But that night, even behind locked doors and familiar walls, I couldn't shake the feeling that danger hadn't stayed behind it, had simply slowed down. My son slept beside me, his small chest rising and falling peacefully. I've watched him for a long time. Children don't pretend fear like adults pretend strength. Whatever he had seen, whatever he had felt, it was real. The next morning, my father sat across from me at the kitchen table. "You're not telling me everything?" he said calmly. I sighed. "I'm telling you what I know." "No," he replied. "You're telling me what you want to believe." That hurt, but he was right. So I told him everything about the warning, the footsteps, the messages, the police, the impersonation. When I finished, he leaned back slowly. "Your ex-husband was always ambitious," he said. "But ambition without limits turns dangerous." "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "He was involved in things he never told you about." My heart dropped. "Like what? People?" my father said. "Powerful people." Later that day, a detective came to the house. He introduced himself as Detective Harris. "We've been tracking your ex-husband for months," he said. "He was involved in financial fraud, identity manipulation, and something much bigger." Then, "Who was the man coming to my home?" I asked. Harris took a deep breath. "Someone trained to replace him." The words echoed in my head. "Replace him." "Your ex-husband discovered something," the detective continued. "Something that scared him. He tried to disappear and failed." I whispered. "We believe he was taken," Harris said. "The man you saw is part of the same operation." My son, sitting quietly beside me, spoke up. "He didn't walk like my dad." The detective turned toward him. "What do you mean?" "My dad always leaned a little to the left," my son said. "That man didn't." Harris nodded slowly. "That detail might save lives one day," he said. In that moment, I realized something powerful. My son wasn't just a victim in this story, he was a witness that night. I finally allowed myself to grieve, not just for the danger, but for the man my ex-husband used to be, the laughter, the promises, the future we once believed in. Sometimes, the hardest truth isn't that someone becomes evil, it's that they choose silence instead of honesty. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Video message. I almost didn't open it, but I did. The screen showed my ex-husband. Bruce. Tired. Alive. "If you're seeing this," he said quietly, "it means I failed." My hands trembled. "I made deals I shouldn't have," he continued. "I trusted the wrong people, and now someone else is wearing my face." Tears streamed down my cheeks. "They will come for you," he warned. "Not because of me, but because of what I know." The video ended. I sat there in silence. Fear tried to take over, but something stronger rose. Instead, resolve. The next day, I made a decision. I stopped running. I met with the authorities. I handed over the messages. I gave them the video. And for the first time in years, I stood tall, not as a scared ex-wife, but as a mother protecting her child. Fear didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling me. At night, I looked at my son and said, "Thank you for trusting your voice." He smiled softly. "Mom," he said, "sometimes grown-ups forget how to listen." And he was right. Life doesn't always warn us with sirens. Sometimes it whispers through the people we're meant to protect. And when we finally listen, we don't just survive, we rise. The days that followed were tense, but different. Asterisks instead of hiding. We prepared. Instead of fearing shadows, we planned. My son and I weren't powerless anymore. We had knowledge, we had courage, and most importantly, we had each other. Detective Harris had arranged a safe house. Every call, every message, every knock on the door was carefully monitored. We weren't living freely, but we were alive. And sometimes, that's the first step toward freedom. One evening, as we were reviewing the video my ex-husband had sent, a thought struck me. If we were going to survive, we couldn't just hide. We had to face the danger. Not blindly, not with anger, but with strategy. I explained everything to my son. "Tomorrow," I said, "we'll meet him, whoever is behind this, and we'll end it together." His small hand gripped mine. "Mom, I'm ready," he said. "Courage doesn't come from size or age. It comes from belief." Asterisk the next day. In a deserted warehouse, we met the man who had haunted our lives. He wore a mask figuratively and literally. We had Detective Harris there, cameras recording every move. He stepped forward, trying to intimidate. "Where's my son?" he demanded, voice cold. Asterisk I stepped in front of my child. "He's right here," I said, calm but firm. The man laughed. "You think you can stop me?" I didn't reply. I looked at my son. He nodded. Asterisk, and in that moment, I realized the greatest power I had wasn't weapons or walls, it was conviction. The man lunged, but the police were ready. He was restrained quickly. As he was led away, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. Asterisk, not just relief from danger, relief from fear. My son hugged me tightly. "You did it, Mom," he whispered. "No," I said, tears streaming. "We did it. Together." Later that night, we sat by a quiet fire. The city lights flickered in the distance. Asterisk I told my son stories about bravery, not the kind with swords or guns, but the kind that lives in everyday life, standing up for what's right, trusting your instincts, protecting those you love. He listened quietly, and I knew that he would grow up strong. Asterisk not because the world would be easy, but because he had seen how courage looks in real life. I also realized something about myself. Life doesn't always give warnings in ways we expect. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it shouts, but it always gives us a choice: to cower or to rise. I chose to rise, and I would do it every single day, for my son and for myself. The next morning, I woke early. I stood at the window, feeling sunlight warm my face. Asterisk, for the first time in months, I felt peace. Asterisk, the fear that had haunted us wasn't gone, but it no longer controlled us. Asterisk, we had faced it, we had trusted our instincts, and we had survived. Life will test you in unimaginable ways. It will try to scare you, deceive you, even break you, but strength isn't about never being afraid. Strength is about acting even when you are afraid. Asterisk, strength is about listening to your instincts, protecting the people you love, and refusing to be silent when truth calls. Asterisk, so that's what my son taught me, that's what I taught him. And that's how we rose together. No shadows could touch us anymore, because courage, love, and truth are stronger than fear. And that is the power that stays with you long after the storm has passed.